Tuesday, one day after go live, and Daniel demos the console to the team, answers stream in live, screenshots get read, the hard tickets get real thought. Priya loves it, and she says the one sentence every engineer eventually hears: hand it to another engineer, you're needed elsewhere. And the handover fails in an afternoon because the console is a folder on his laptop, the setup lives in his head, and no one else has ever read the code. There's no record of what changed, so there's no earlier version to go back to, and the desk that went live on Monday can die with one laptop. Freeze, because Priya's next sentence is this episode's whole syllabus: the desk can't live on one laptop. Here is how the exam asks it. A support tool built as a prototype runs only on its developer's laptop, and the team requires that any engineer can deploy it, fix it, and roll it back. What should the developer do first? The item parks in the corner, and by the end, the console lives somewhere that isn't Daniel's laptop with a history anyone can walk back. Call it 7 more of your 53, and today a new segment starts inking, the biggest one on the whole ring. Now, the surprise in the blueprint, and it's the reason this episode exists. Stack today's 3 skills together, and this becomes the heaviest single episode in the whole course, which is why that counter just jumped so far. And here is the trap: Claude is barely in them. Strike every Claude word out of these stems, and they'd still work on any software exam. Which is why people lose these points. They spend weeks in the API docs and donate the plain engineering questions they already half know. The 3 skills are just Priya's sentence asked 3 ways. What must the desk actually do, and where must it run? That's requirements. How does a system get from someone's laptop to a thing a team runs for years? That's the system's life cycle. And what are the working habits that turn code into a service anyone can own? That's software engineering foundations. Start where the exam starts. A business person hands you one sentence, and your job is to turn it into requirements a builder can act on. The exam's word for this skill is understanding requirements, and it names 2 kinds: functional and infrastructure. Both come from what the business asked for and from the solution architecture, which is just the drawing of what talks to what. Functional requirements say what the system does, summarize the ticket, stream the answer, read the screenshot. Infrastructure requirements say what it runs on, how it stays alive, and what the team must be able to do to it. So, a server that isn't a laptop, a deploy any engineer can trigger, meaning putting a new version where users run it, and a way back when a change goes wrong. Watch 4 of them sort. Summarize: every ticket is functional, and runs on a shared server is infrastructure. Read screenshots: functional again. And any engineer can roll back is infrastructure, because it's about what the team must be able to do to the thing. Notice the console already meets every functional requirement and fails every infrastructure one, which is the whole diagnosis of Daniel's demo in 2 columns. And that drawing earns its place because a requirement like rollback means nothing until you know what's deployed where. So the pattern to carry: a business sentence in 2 lists out, and every exam stem in this skill is asking you to sort or derive one of those lists. Second skill: the system's life cycle, and the guide hands you its 4 verbs directly: develop, implement, operate, and maintain. Develop is building the thing. Implement is putting it where users are, operate is running it day to day, and maintain is changing it safely for years. And watch that second word. The exam's implement isn't writing the code, it's standing the finished thing up where people use it. Now place the console honestly. It never left develop, because going live on Monday just meant the support team started depending on a laptop. Nobody implemented it. Nobody owns operating it, and there's no way to maintain it, and that gap is the risk Priya can feel. The frameworks the skill mentions are just named ways of walking those stages: one big pass in strict order, or small loops that visit all 4 again and again. The exam stays at that level, so skip the framework names and their rituals and learn the 4 stages themselves. Know who owns each one, and know that production credit is earned in operate and maintain, never in develop. And when a stem names a stage, it's really asking who owns a decision. So pin the common ones down now. Who deploys is implement, who gets the call at 2 in the morning is operate, and when the thing finally gets retired is a maintain decision. Third skill, the heaviest of the three, and the guide lists its contents outright. So let's take attendance. 3. You already earned on the wire. REST APIs and JSON are how the desk has called Claude since episode 2, and async is how it holds many calls open at once. The other 4 are exactly what the handover was missing, so we'll install them into the story one by one. First, version control. The code moves into a shared repository, a place that remembers every change anyone has ever made to it. That's what turns rolling back into a real move, because you pick the last good version instead of reconstructing it from memory. Second, code review. Every change gets read by a second engineer before it lands, so the knowledge stops living in one head. Third, what the guide calls SDLC integration, which just means fitting your changes into the lifecycle you just made. Every change writes a fixed path, branch, then review, then test, the automatic check that nothing else broke, then deploy. So shipping stops being an event on Daniel's laptop and becomes a route that anyone on the team can drive. And fourth, refactoring, which is improving the shape of code without changing what it does, and the guide is careful to name both sizes. Small scale is renaming and tidying as you go. Large scale is restructuring the service itself, and both are only safe once the history and the tests exist to catch you. Now run Tuesday again with all 3 skills installed. The console lives in a shared repository with its setup scripted beside the code, so the second engineer copies it down and runs it that same afternoon. A week later, the engineer ships a fix through the same route while Daniel is on vacation, and nobody has to call him. And when that fix turns out to be wrong, the history is right there. So the rollback takes a minute and nobody's weekend is involved. The desk has finally caught up with its own users, implemented on a shared server, operated by a team, maintainable by anyone on it. These stems come in 3 shapes. What should you do first? Is this requirement functional or infrastructure? And which stage does this decision belong to? All 3 reward the same boring instinct. Name the constraint, then pick the mechanism that serves it, which is episode 1's rule 1 wearing work clothes. Back to the handover question at full size, and now you are armed. Option 1, rewrite the console in a faster language so it's more reliable. Option 2, write a long setup document on the laptop so anyone can follow it. Option 3, put the code in version control with reviewed changes and a deployment lifecycle. Option 4, add the features Priya asked about first so the service is worth handing over. Name the decision first. Nothing here is about calling Claude, so this is a will it survive production question today's whole quarter in one stem. Then find the constraint, and this one is a guarantee. The team requires that any engineer can deploy, fix and roll it back. Requires plus can is the same shape as must, so rule 2 is live and guidance is about to lose to mechanism. The rewrite dies on rule 1. The constraint is about who can operate the service, and a faster language is a generic upgrade that serves none of it. The document dies on rule 2. The first time you've needed that rule since episode 1, because a document is guidance and the stem asks for a mechanism. Writing things down isn't wrong, it just isn't what holds the guarantee up, exactly like the polite line in a prompt that was never a control. And notice it leaves the code where it was, so the one laptop is still the one laptop, now with better paperwork. Features first is a corpse already, because shipping features around process is exactly how the console became a one laptop service. So it dies twice, once on the constraint and once on the story you just watched. What survives is the boring mechanism, version control, reviewed changes and a deployment lifecycle, which is the branch, review, test, deploy route you just built. That's the pattern for this whole quarter. When the stem promises what a team must always be able to do, guidance loses to mechanism every time. Here's what the handover taught you. A business sentence becomes 2 lists, what the system does and what it runs on, and you should be able to sort any requirement into one of them. A system has four ages: develop, implement, operate, maintain, and production credit is earned in the last two. Version control, review, and a pipeline are what turn code into a service anyone can own, and they come before the brave changes, not after. The counter jumps to 16 of 53, the biggest single move it will ever make, and the survive segment, the largest on the ring, has started to ink. Tomorrow, Priya asks the same question in three places. The desk, a chat window, and a coding session, gets three different answers and wants to know which one is lying.